We're going to deal with how to run regression or correlation using a data set on Excel. It's a rather simple process. I've got two columns. One says tissue calcium, one says disease. When you're looking at regression, you've got a dependent and independent variable, which means that one is going to cause an effect on the other. If I add calcium to the soil, I expect an increase in tissue calcium. When you're running correlation, you're running two independent variables. That means that one does not have a direct effect over the other. If I'm looking at how much tissue calcium I have and how that relates to disease, that would be looking at tissue calcium and disease. Tissue calcium would be one independent variable, disease would be the other. I'm going to set tissue calcium to be the X, since I'm going to start out with this. Now I'm going to take these values and sort them as pairs. I block them out as pairs, and then I come up over here to the AZ funnel, and I sort them smallest to largest. That sorts all of my pairs. It went from the smallest to the largest. Now I need to obtain the sum of my X values. I block this down like this, leaving a blank cell at the bottom. I come over here to my sigma, I press on that, and that sums my X value. Then I come over to my Y column and I do the same thing, and that sums my Y values. Next I need the sum of the X squared. Since X is D4, I can write into this cell equals D4 times D4, which is the square of the D4. Once I've got that value, I can copy this value, Control C. I can fill in these values down here, Control V. And what that does is it takes the D value here, the cell in the D column, and it squares it for each one of these. Then I can come and block them all out and sum that, and that gives me the sums of the X squared. I need to do the same thing for the Y squared. In this case, we've got to have the E instead of the D. The interesting thing about Excel is if you have a formula in there and you move over a column, it will copy that formula over to that new column. So in here I've got these values, which are the D values. If I take this whole thing and I copy it and I paste it into my Y value, it squares the E values. So now I've got my Y values and it's got the sum down at the bottom. The same thing goes true in a row. You can do rows the same way. Now I need the XY value. The XY values are equal to my D4 times my E4. So I put in here D4 times E4. D is the tissue calcium and E is the disease. When I do this, you can see that I've got little boxes in the cells. The D4 cell is blue, the E4 cell is red. You can verify that you've got the right cell. These are the cells that I need according to that formula. When I hit return, that now gives me these values. You can see up here that I've got those values. I can copy that, Control C. I then come down and paste that in each cell. It will automatically shift the rows for each cell. Then I can come over here and I can take this value and sum those. So now I have got my values that I need for all of those particular calculations. I need to know the number of cells. I could sit there and I could count them, or I could come down here and make a little box down here. That would be the count value. This is going to be a function. Function says fx. If I insert function up here, I'm going to use the function count as I am counting a number. When I do this, it says value 1. My value 1 is going to be D4. And if I put that in, I can now come up here and you see I click on that and it gives me the blue box. I can grab on the edge of that blue box up here and I can pull it down like this. And it now says it's going to count the values from D4 to D24. I hit return and it says my number of cells there is 21. So N is going to be 21. I need these values down on the bottom, which are the sums to plug into the equation for correlation. I am going to copy this entire part here. I come over, I block the entire thing. I can right-click on it and go copy and take it to where I need to be able to paste it.